Hey guys, in this video we're going to try to send the driver's location to our passenger app using Socket.io. As you can see, our end product will look like this. So if we have multiple drivers close to our location, we have their markers just scattered across this map. So what is Socket.io? Socket.io enables real-time bi-directional event-based communication. You can check out the engine's documentation on this website. I'll leave the link in the description box. So we're going to create a simple browser-based driver's app prototype. The browser app will simply update the driver's location each time the driver opens the app or changes location. It will simulate all of that. So the driver's document will look like this. This is what we're going to save inside our database. So we have the first name, the last name, date of birth, national ID, the profile picture, which is coming from a CDN or wherever you have your pictures located. We have rating, we have the address, and we have the vehicle object, which we're going to display to the user also later on. I've already created some driver documents, so I'm just going to go inside my collections, and I'm going to create a new collection called drivers. And inside this collection, I'm just gonna add a new document that I've already created here. So I'll just copy this and paste it in here. So the document will be created and the driver will be given a unique ID. So let's just add more drivers. Let me just copy this one also. Add a new document. Paste inside here, create two. Let me just add 3 drivers. Okay, so now we have our 3 drivers. Let's create another collection called drivers collection. So this collection will update each time the driver changes their location. So I'll just call it drivers location. And the documents will look like this. We have the driver ID, the coordinates, we have the type and the coordinates, and we'll also have a socket ID, which will be sent each and every time the driver opens the driver's app. One more thing you should note here is this is actually the longitude we are starting with, and we'll put the latitude at the end. This is how MongoDB formulates their coordinates object. Start with the longitude first, then the latitude. So I have already created this. Let me just copy and paste what we have here. This will be my driver's location. Just add a new document. Create. I'll also need the driver's ID for that location, so let me just copy this. Just copy this driver's ID. Come and paste it here. Okay, this will be updated later on. So I'm just gonna save this. Let's add another document. This will be another driver. And I'll just take this ID. So in this document, we're going to update both the driver's socket ID and the location. So each time the driver opens the app, we'll update this location and we'll also update the socket ID. Now let's create our browser-based app. So I'm just going to go inside our server views HTML. I'm going to use this view as our driver's app. I've already created an HTML document that I'm just going to copy and paste here. So we're going to use Bootstrap just for some styling. We don't really need it. And I've created a form here with a list of options. We only have one option in the list, which is confirmed, and we have a button here. We're going to use this later on when the driver updates the booking, and we'll update the database using that. And I'm also going to use jQuery for the Ajax calls I'm going to be making. And I'm also importing Socket.io. And now what we want to do is we want to install Socket.io so that our server can be able to use it. So I'm just going to go here and type in npm install socket.io and save. Let me just let that install. We'll need to make a few changes to our server.js file. First of all, we need to import socket.io. So I'm just gonna go here, save var socket.io be equal to require socket.io. I'm just gonna save io will be equal to this. I'll just wrap it inside io.listen and save this. So now inside my view, I'm just gonna create a new script tag. So just want to make a connection. So to do that, I'll create a variable again here called socket, which will be equal to io, and I'll do socket dot on connect. I have an arrow function here. I'm just going to console.log the socket.id. So let's test this and see if it works. So I'm gonna save this. In here, I'm just gonna run nodemon. Go to my browser and enter localhost 3000 inside my console. Unexpected token. Oh, sorry. It's supposed to be equals. Save. Reload. So now you see we have the socket ID, which means the browser is now connected. So now the next thing you want to do is we need to communicate with our API. So I'm gonna create another route called driver location. So inside our routes, create a new file called driver location.js, and inside this route we'll have something almost similar to this. So I'll copy this and paste it here. The only difference is we are not going to be using the bookings collection. We're going to be using this collection we just created called drivers location. So let me just copy this and paste it here. Let me just remove this. The socket.io ID changes each time the driver opens the app. We just want to update the database each time the driver opens the app. So to do that, I'm just going to create a function here, update driver socket ID, and I just create router output. My endpoint will be driver location socket, and I'll pass in an ID function here which takes in the request, response, and next. So we're just gonna say var io is equal to request.app.io, and we'll do the same thing we did before. So I'm just gonna do if not request dot body. So I'm just gonna handle my error here, 400, and I have a response.json which says bad data. If everything is okay, I'll have an else here, and I'll do database dot drivers location, and I'll do an update. I'm gonna do an update on the driver's location. So I want to update the document based on the location ID which we have here. So to do that, I'm gonna do ID, set it to Mongojs dot object ID, which we're taking from request dot params dot ID. I'm gonna do a set here, set it to socket ID to request dot body dot socket ID. We're going to create an Ajax call which will use this API. And here I'm just going to have a function that returns an error and the updated details. So inside this function, I'm just going to check if I have an error. I'll return the error. Dot send error. If everything else is okay, I'll just send response.send the updated details. So now let's create an Ajax function which will utilize this endpoint. So I'm just gonna come down here inside our socket.connect. I'm just gonna create it. I'm gonna be hard coding a lot of things for this simulation on the driver side. I'm gonna create a variable called driver current data. inside here, I'm just going to pass in the socket ID. And also the driver's location ID. Since we're hard coding things in here, let me just copy a driver's location ID from here. So let me just copy this one and paste it here. So now let's make our Ajax call. So I'm just gonna do $Ajax. This will be a type of put. My endpoint will be API. Let me just copy this. Driver location socket. Plus the driver current data dot location ID. And the data type we're sending will be JSON. And we're just going to send this data here. So if this is done, we have a function with our response. So if the response is not now, the response is not empty. I'm just going to console.log success, else console.log the error. Okay, this is done. So currently inside our database we don't have a socket ID. So right now I'm expecting if we refresh the page, this should be updated and we have a socket ID here. Oh, I missed this. So let's just check if everything is okay before we test. We need to import it, so I'm just gonna declare var driver location is equal to require this, and I also need to pass it down here. So I'm gonna do app.use API. I'm just passing this. Right, this is driver location. Save. Okay. So now if we check our database, if I refresh this page, this socket ID should change. Okay, so it's working. Now we have a new socket ID, the same socket ID we have here. So now we want to create another endpoint which will be used by our passenger to get the nearby drivers using a 10-kilometer radius. So to do that, we're just going to go back in here, and I'm just gonna write a comment here. I'll call it get nearby driver. So this will almost be the same, just copy and paste this, but this will be a get and we won't have this ID here. Let me just close the function. I'm gonna do db.drivers location dot ensure index. So the ensure index creates an index on the specified field if the index does not already exist. So this helps us to focus only on the data we need instead of searching through the whole document. So we're going to use coordinate to the sphere. Then we'll say db dot drivers location dot find coordinate from the object we created near geometry. And the type is point. And we have our coordinates here. Our coordinates will be passed as a string, so we need to pass float. And I'm just gonna do request dot query dot longitude. Like I mentioned before, when you're using Mongo, you start with the longitude, then the latitude. I'm just gonna do comment and do the same thing. Then the latitude. And we're gonna do all this using a max distance of 10 kilometers. Here I'm just gonna do a function error and the location which is being returned. So if there is an error, we're just gonna do the same thing we did here. Just copy this and paste it here. We'll send in the location. Okay, so now we need to create a Redux section to use this API we just created. So inside our home route, source home route, inside the modules folder, I'm just going to create a new function here. So we're going to return paste it here. And I'm gonna do request dot get, and we'll use the endpoint we just created. Copy this, paste it here, but this will be driver location. So I need to change this to driver location and save. This is driver location. And also, before we continue, we just need to make sure we call it, we declare it here also. So driver location, from driver location, app.choose driver location. and save. Let's go back here. Now create our query, which we have the latitude, which we're going to take from the store .home .region .latitude. And we're going to do the same thing for the longitude. To finish, error response. We have an arrow function here, and we're just going to dispatch a type of get nearby drivers. Get nearby drivers, and our payload will be the response.body. So I just need to make sure this is available in my constants. Sorry. Get nearby drivers, just copy this, paste it here, and also paste it inside my constants. Okay, so now I need to create a handler for this action. So down here, I'm just gonna comment this handle get nearby drivers. My function will look like this. And to get nearby drivers, and to return an array of nearby drivers, which will be equal to the action.payload. And we need to map this to our props. So stat.home.nearby drivers, otherwise it will be an empty array. Save. Okay, and we also need to make sure our components know that this action exists. So to do that, I'm just gonna pass it in here and here. Okay, so now we're just going to call this function inside our component. So here I'm just gonna put a set timeout function, and I'm just gonna put 1000 here, and then I'll call my function this.props.get nearby drivers and save. But these will not work here, so I'm just gonna declare a variable, call it rx whatever, and I'm going to assign it to this. Then here just use the rx here. Okay, and we also need to map our function to our handler. So the action is get nearby drivers. Okay, let me just check if everything is okay here. I think we have a syntax error here. This function should be here. This should be here. Sorry for the formatting. Okay, everything's okay. So now let's just run the app and see what happens. So I'm just gonna cd into taxi app and run. So the app is running. We just reload this. And as you can see, now we have a payload of nearby drivers. We have two objects. So these are the drivers which are close to our location. So now we want to display the nearby drivers marker. So to do that, I'm just going to, first of all, I'll need the image. I'll require the image from here. Just create a constant and I'll call it car marker. And I'll take it from assets. I have an image called car marker in here. Car marker.png. And I'm just going to pass it. I'm just going to pass it to my map container. Car marker is equals to and I also need to pass the nearby drivers to my container also. This array. So just do this dot props dot nearby drivers, and inside my map container, let me just format this. Pass in the car marker and the nearby drivers. Okay, so I'm just going to create another marker here. So first of all, I'll check if I have nearby drivers. If I have nearby drivers, then I'll do nearby drivers dot map. Inside my map, I'll have a marker and an index. This is an R function. Then I'll have my marker here. But this time, instead of using a pin with a color, I'm just gonna change this and use an image. So the image will be my car marker. And because this is a map, I also need a key, which will be the index. And the coordinates will no longer be region. I'm gonna do like this. The latitude will come from here. So it will be coordinates, and you remember the object from MongoDB starts with the longitude and then the latitude. So my latitude will be 1 and my longitude will be 0. So I'll go back here and I'll say marker dot coordinates, and my latitude will be 1, and I'll do the same for my longitude. which will be 0. So if I save this, let me remove this, reload again, and now we get the 2 cars which are close to our location. They are within the 10-kilometer radius that we specified when we're creating our API. So now what I want to do, if a user types in a pickup location and a drop-off location, I want to be inserting the markers to indicate the drop-off in the pickup location. So to do that, we just create a constant here, and I'm going to be using selected address. Inside selected address, I'll have selected pickup and selected drop-off. So now I'll check if I have the selected pickup, then I'll display this marker. And this will be the selected drop-off. And here we're just going to do the same thing that we did for our nearby drivers. It will be a little bit different. So our latitude will be selected pickup dot latitude and the longitude will be selected pickup dot longitude. And we'll do the same for our drop-off. Same, this will be drop-off and this will be drop-off. This, let me just change the color of the drop-off location to blue. Flash again. As you can see, now it calculated our fare, and we have our pickup location and our drop-off location. So in the next video, when the user clicks on the book button, we're going to use Socket.io again to send a request to the driver. Then the driver will have to confirm that booking. So we'll do all of that in the next video. So thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.